Have you ever crossed paths with the infamous Cynthia Sylvia Stout? Today, we expose the chilling entity that is Sarah, an ordinary girl you might believe, with a mind filled with wicked schemes, a heart devoid of compassion, and a malevolent laugh. She was far from any other girl her age. But oh, there was one thing that made Sarah a nightmare: her extraordinary stubbornness. You see, Cynthia Sylvia Stout harboured a sinister trait. Despite her seemingly sweet demeanour, she had a resolute refusal to take out the garbage. Whether it was her contempt for the mundane, her disdain for labour, or just the principle it all, we may never know. Nevertheless, this simple task was a mountain she simply would climb. This was her act of rebellion, her statement, and it was this stand that would pave the way for a tale quite unlike any other. This seemingly trivial act of rebellion, I assure you, took an ominous turn. As the days spun into weeks, a peculiar spectacle unfolded in Sarah's abode. A tide of forgotten items began to surge from the kitchen, inching its insidious way into the pristine haven of the living room. It began as a playful game, a lone apple core here, an empty soup can there. But soon, the mountain of discarded things began to grow with a life of its own. The kitchen, once the beating heart of the house, where warmth and nourishment thrived, morphed into a twisted maze of junk. Old newspapers sprawled on countertops, convening with crumpled candy wrappers and chipped mugs. A thick miasma of rotting food replaced the once homely scent of baking bread and brewing coffee. And then, like a subversive wave, the garbage began to invade the rest of the house. The living room, once a soothing, was now cloaked in the guise of a landfill. The plush, comforting couch was now a regal seat for a pile of discarded pizza boxes, a grotesque mockery of a throne, while the carpet vanished under a layer of crumpled soda cans and forgotten toys. The bedrooms did not escape this onslaught either. The once plush beds were now tiny islands amidst a vast ocean of waste. Old clothes, broken toys, and discarded books formed towering monuments, casting long, uncanny shadows in the moonlight. The bathrooms, once safe havens, were transformed into eerie chambers of abandoned toiletries and empty shampoo bottles. In the heart of the chaos stood Sarah's home, which had once been a beacon of comfort and love. It now wore a new identity, a fortress of filth, a triumphant testament to a woman's defiant refusal to perform a simple task. It was a sight to behold, a proud monument erected in the name of rebellion. The impact on Sarah and her family was monumental. Their once tranquil haven was now a tumultuous mess, a place where comfort was a faded memory, replaced by the stark reminder of their spiraling predicament. But in the eye of this storm, amidst the escalating chaos, Cynthia Sylvia Stout stood, her eyes gleaming with a mischievous delight. She revelled in the disorder, drawing a perverse joy from the mayhem that was her own creation. The townsfolk stared aghast as Sarah's house morphed into an unholy mountain of waste. The once charming and wholesome town now wore the disfiguring scar of Sarah's escalating pile of discarded items, mocking the orderliness of the surrounding houses and the pristine town square. News flitted through the town, shrouded in dread, as it does in tight-knit communities. Terrified whispers of Cynthia Sylvia Stout and her horrifying situation echoed from the local diner to the grocery store and throughout the post office. The townsfolk huddled together in their collective fear, struggling to comprehend Sarah's actions. Why, they asked themselves, would anyone allow rubbish to accumulate so grotesquely? Many tried to intervene. The postman, his voice quivering but his smile forced, hinted that it was high time for the garbage to be disposed of. The baker, who had watched Sarah grow since her infancy, braved the stench to offer his assistance in combating the monstrous mess. Even the town mayor, in an official tone trembling with fear, pleaded with Sarah to act for the town's safety and image. But Sarah, oh Sarah, she stood as resolute as the towering monstrosity of waste that cast a shadow over her home. Her denial was as relentless as the pungent stench that now choked the town's atmosphere. She would not, could not, dispose of the refuse. Her obstinacy was as perplexing as it was terrifying. It was as if she had made a pact with the rubbish, a pledge to let it grow unchecked. The town's worry into panic. The rubbish was more than an unpleasant sight. It was an ominous blight on their safe haven. The once friendly whispers transformed into fearful murmurs. The townsfolk, who had once embraced Sarah as one of their own, now felt a chilling dread whenever she was mentioned. And thus, the tale of Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout became a ghost story of stubbornness, a chilling narrative of defiance against the norms of sanitation and community. The town watched, waited, and fretted, their fear festering beneath the surface of their everyday lives. Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout, with her stubbornness, had become the nightmare of the town. But alas, every plot, or in Sarah's case, scheme, has repercussions. The once a mere annoyance morphed into a monstrosity, a mountain of waste that eclipsed the town. The air became dense with the stench of decomposing leftovers, forsaken dreams and abandoned histories. The streets, previously bustling with vitality, were now deserted, the townsfolk refusing to face the malodorous onslaught. Garbage Mountain, like an unyielding usurper, seized control of the town square, the park, the schoolyard. It shattered the rhythm of life, the symmetry of existence. It was chaos, spawned by Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout's sinister design. The town, formerly a symbol of peace and serenity, turned into a war zone, a monument to the destruction one person's malevolent strategies can inflict. The garbage overlooked now clamoured for recognition, a symbol of the unavoidable repercussions of our intentions, or in Sarah's case, deceptions. And that, my friends, was the downfall brought on by Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout's evil machinations. So, what monstrous secrets does the tale of Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout hold for us in its clutches? What sinister truths can we glean from this chronicle of damnation defiance? It's not just a tale of trash, you know. It's a haunting parable of corruption, a gruesome tale of malevolent intent. Turned Sarah wasn't merely stubborn, she was a hardened outlaw, sinisterly rejecting the mundane chore of disposing of her waste. Her stubbornness was not strength, but a black shroud of malevolence, a barricade against responsibility. In her denial, she birthed a monstrous issue, a grotesque homage to her depravity. But don't we all have a dark facet of Sarah lurking within us? Aren't we all prone to occasionally overlooking the trivial tasks, the minor irritants that we'd prefer to avoid? Yet, as Sarah's terrifying tale demonstrates, these minor things can accumulate, transforming into insurmountable, horrifying mountains of evil. In the end, it wasn't the garbage that corrupted Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout, but her wicked choice to ignore it. Isn't that ultimately the true chilling fallout of our actions?